Hi everyone, Mrs. Kane here. So for today's asynchronous assignment, we're going to do a quick review of some of the things we've been working on so far, and you're going to be creating a fun little project. You can use small paper for this. You don't need to make it really big. You could also take a piece of paper and just fold it in half like a card, and you can do the front of this and use this as a card to give to somebody if for the holidays. So if you are celebrating Christmas this year, you can make this as Christmassy as you want. And if you are not, you can just make this candy themed and really fun, okay? I'm gonna share my screen with you and show you a couple of things that we're gonna be reviewing. We first are gonna be looking at what we talked about last week. So we're gonna look at foreground, what's closest in the picture, so the things that are closest to you. So this here, this grass, right here is in the foreground. Middle ground, okay, all the things in the middle of the picture, and the background. So this is how pictures and artworks are organized, okay, in space. So we organize the space with the foreground, middle ground, and background. So we are going to be reviewing that on this project. We're also going to be reviewing the different types of shapes. So we talked about geometric shapes. So you're going to be looking at triangles, ovals, hexagons, circle, square, whichever geometric shapes you're going to choose to use for this project. So we're going to be reviewing those and including some of those in the project. Organic shapes, shapes that we find in nature. So the outlines of clouds, the outlines of puddles, the shapes of leaves, things that you find in nature. And we're also going to be looking at many different styles of lines that you could use on this project. I'm only going to use a couple, but I want you to be creative and use some that you think are going to fit well for your project. What we're going to be making is a drawing of a gingerbread house, or you could just do like a winter themed landscape, okay? This does not have to be Christmassy. You could get rid of the wreath and change some of these details and just make a super fun candy themed house, or you could just make it even more realistic if you would like. It's really up to you how creative you want to get with this on your own, okay? So I'm going to show you the project that we're doing, and then I'm going to do a step-by-step. You need to just pause the video whenever you feel that you need to. I'm going to try and go a little bit faster than usual because you're just going to do the work on your own today, unlike when we do this together, okay? So this is going to be asynchronous, meaning you're doing this on your own. Okay, so I want you to follow along with me. So get your piece of paper. I'm going to draw with my Sharpie, okay? But you can draw with your pencil first if you want. If I make a mistake, I won't be able to erase, but I like the way that the thin black outline looks on everything that I'm drawing. So it's up to you how you want to do it, okay? And here's an example of the house that I'll be drawing. Okay, you can change yours and modify if you want to look things up and add some other details, get some ideas from online, you can do that, okay? So I'm working with a relatively small piece of paper today because I don't want this to be a giant project. And like I said, if you wanted to do this, where you take a piece of paper and fold it in half, you could do this on the front of that paper and make this into a card, right? I have a sketch in here. You can make this into a card and give it to somebody for the holidays or for birthdays, something like that, okay? So you can think of interesting ways that you can use your artwork as pieces of art that you can give to people. Okay, so the first thing we're going to make is this rectangle. Now all of you are working with different size paper. All I can say is don't make it too small that you can't add any details. And don't make it so huge that it would take you a long time for coloring this in, okay? I'm going to make a rectangle first. Now notice I did not put my rectangle right at the bottom of my paper because we want to make sure we have a foreground. Okay, we're working on the house, which is going to be in the middle ground. Now I'm going to add a skinny rectangle on each side and add like a little post that's holding up the roof. Okay, we're working with basic shapes here, so shapes that are geometric and we've been working with in school for a long time. On the roof of this little entryway, I'm going to make a line on each side because we want our roof to overhang the edge of the house. and I'm going to make a triangle. Now you may choose to do a different shape for your roof if you want. And actually I'm going to make a line right here and just add a little gutter. So you would, if you did this with your pencil, you could erase that line, right? But I can't erase that. So I'm just going to make it part of the design. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to add is the main part of the house, right? Like the living area. I'm going to start here and I'm going to come out on each side about the same distance, okay? And I'm going to make another line down here. It comes out about the same amount and turn this into a rectangle. Now, notice that it didn't line up completely with the door. I brought that line up just a little bit. And you don't have to do that, but I'm showing that this house has some setbacks in the front, right? It's not all flush. And I'm going to give this a little rectangle that goes all the way along. It's a little trim along the edge of the house. And for my next part, I'm going to add a tower right here in the middle. And mine's probably going to run right off the edge of my paper, which I am fine with, okay? I'm going to make a little rectangle right here. And that's going to be adding in this tower here that's above this front entrance. Okay, so it's kind of like an older style home. Once I have that, I want to add a roof to this. I'm going to do that same thing and add a line on a line. And this would be a triangle, but mine's going to just run right off the edge of the paper, which is no big deal. And then I'm going to add that little trim work. Okay, now this looks kind of like a strange design for a house, right? It could be, but there's probably some sort of roof on top of this section here. So I'm going to draw in a trapezoid. Now this trapezoid is behind this rectangle, right? So you're not going to see it right here in front. So I'm going to go from here out just a little bit, right? And then I'm going to take, almost like you're starting a triangle with a flat top. I'm going to come here and make this triangle come up. Okay, so that's the roof section for this area. Okay, now the next thing you want to do to make this house look fun and interesting and more like a real house is start adding some windows and a door. Okay, so adding those details to the house. I'm going to come here and I'm going to do, I'll do it like I did on my example. I'm going to do like I'm making a rectangle, but it's rounded on one edge. Okay, so almost like an oval, I guess you could say, without the other end. And when we make doors and windows, we always make a smaller line right inside because you're showing that trim, that frame, right? A door has to have a frame or it would fall right off. Go ahead and add whatever details you want. Windows, if I'm adding a circular window, same thing. I need to add a little frame around it. I'm going to have some little divisions in the glass. And I'm going to make a similar style window here. So that door is going to have the rounded top, but this also needs to have a frame. And I'm going to keep my house, we've talked about this as well, symmetrical. So whatever I'm drawing, if I split this house right down the middle, it would be the same on both sides. So whatever I'm doing here, I'm doing here. Okay, so I'm making my house very symmetrical. Now I'm going to use what's called a scallop line, and you may choose to do, you know what, since I am showing you a scallop here, scallop is like making the letter U over and over again. It's kind of showing if you were making this gingerbread house with some frosting. You might also choose to do a wavy line and have that be kind of more of this drippy icicle kind of look. Okay, so different options, and you can add that if that looks like something that would be interesting to you. Okay, I'm going to add a window here, right? So up in this tower, I'm going to add a little window, and you can make a rectangular window, triangle, circle, whatever shape you would like. This is called a semicircle when you have a circle that's cut in half. And this is called a semicircle. And you can add, while you're working, you can add any kind of little candy details, things like that that you want to add. Maybe you want these to be colored like candy canes, these posts. So you could put the lines in for that. Okay? Now my roof, I'm going to add some roof details. And this one I did like a scalloped line again, making a scalloped roof. That's kind of like a tile roof. And this one, if you want, you could make, to show you another option, I'm going to make just some shingles, but when you color these, if you're making this like a fun candy house, these could be little pieces of licorice or fruit roll-ups or something like that. So you could color this all different color, rainbow colors, right, to make it look more like a candy house. Okay, so I think that's good for my house. You can see if you want to add more details, I put some little gumdrops in the front. You might add candy canes around or Skittles, little different kinds of candies that you like. Okay, the next thing I'm going to add is so I have this middle ground here. The house is kind of in this middle ground. What I'm going to add now is my foreground. So this fence and the walkway leading up to the house are what's called the foreground. Notice that the walkway gets wider as it gets to the edge of the paper. It gets wider because everything that's closer to us when we're making a drawing starts to get a little bit bigger. So the things that are closer to us, we make bigger. So I'm going to start here, and I'm going to put two straight lines, but they're on a diagonal. Okay, making that walkway get a little bit bigger towards the edge of the paper. And again, you can add any candies. Maybe you have candy canes lining the walkway, anything you want, okay? Now, I am going to make the same kind of fence, and you don't have to make a fence, but if you're interested, I'm going to do that right from the very edge, the bottom of the paper, and I'm going to make a scallop line straight across and match on this side. And then I'm going to make a cap on this. This is sort of like an old metal fence. Get this line in. Okay, and you can make some more details and decorate that. Now, the next thing we're going to add in, because we're trying to show that foreground, middle ground, and background, is this horizon line. We've talked about in class and in our club. The horizon line is where the sky meets the ground, where the sky ends and the ground starts. So that helps us define our space. Another thing that helps us define the space. This is when we're coloring the sky. We know to color everything above that horizon line is the sky. I'm going to make my horizon line. I'm going to do mine in little waves through some hills. You can do yours straight. Doesn't matter. I'm going to start up here. Whatever design works for your picture, okay? And then on the other side of the house, at about the same height on this side, I'm going to make another little curve. Okay, so this is the horizon line. So everything up here is the sky. Everything down here is the ground. Okay, I'm going to add some lollipop trees. And I want you to notice, I'm not starting all of them. See how these start right on the horizon line? That would make them part of the background. If you want to make some that are part of the foreground, you would make those sticks for the lollipops come down right into this foreground area. So you can see the trees here are starting to have this layered effect, right? There's some that are in front of others. Okay, so that's a good thing to practice. If I need to, I'm going to start with my circles first, and it gets easier. So I'm going to make a tree that's behind another one. Let's say I'm going to make another one down here. Okay, then I'm going to make a post for that lollipop. So I'm going to do this out of a stick. Okay, now notice this came right down past my horizon line. And this one I'm going to have sitting farther back behind. Notice the circle is behind. This one's behind. And I'm going to make the rectangle go right down to that horizon line. And then this one I'll have come down. Now mine, because I'm writing with Sharpie, I can't erase that. I'm just going to make this right. So sometimes when we're making things, we have to turn it into a masterpiece. Just work with the marks that we've made. All right, now you can use crayons, color pencils, anything you would like to color this in. Maybe I'm just going to decorate that with my Sharpie real quick. You could add a snowman. You could add more lollipop trees, or think about other styles of trees you might find interesting to draw, maybe like the Lorex. Trees are cool, okay? And I'm going to add in my picture, you can design yours differently, but I want to point out the organic shapes. So clouds are a good example of an organic shape because they're found in nature. Every day when you look up at the sky, the clouds are different, right? Even sometimes throughout the day, they're different. So these, the outline is considered an organic shape. Okay, so I want you to work on that. I'd love for you to send me some pictures so I can see how you're doing. You can add as much detail as you want, as many candy details as you want, and color it in. I left my ground white because I'm having that be a snowy ground, but you could always color that in as well. And I hope that you have fun with it. Thanks for signing in and checking out this independent activity, and I will see you all soon. Bye.